So I went through medical school, became a radiologist. As a matter of fact, when I went to medical school, I had to punch the guy next to me when we were signing up. I said, "How do you spell medicine?" And he looked at me. He said, "You're not going to be here very long, are you?" But I graduated in the top of the class. You know, I'm a quick study, and so I got out of medical school, and I started. And my first love was radio and engineering. So I figured out I couldn't buy a radio station, so I built one. And then I built more and more radio stations. That's the way I got into broadcasting. And then I saw I pay a lot of tax. And I started looking at where my tax dollars go and what's going to happen to my kids and my grandkids. And that's when I got into politics.
423-0139. We got Travis and Henderson up next, and your call as well. 423-0139. Talking with George Flinn. Wants to be your congressman.
Call Slater now at 423-0139.
This.
Mike Slater.
Hey, Slater Raiders, how are you? Talking with George Flinn, wants to be your congressman in the 8th Congressional District. George, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk with, we got Shirley coming in next. Shirley has a great question, so Shirley, hang on the line. But we told Travis and Henderson that he'd be up first. Travis, you're on the phone with George Flinn. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you this morning?
Travis, good morning.
Hey, George, privileged to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
I want to wish you all the best in your bid to represent us.
Thank you.
Interesting to hear that you had originally started out wanted to be an engineer. That's what I am. Recently affected by plant closing, and our plant employed about 500 people over in Perry County, and ended up moving to Mexico. And one of the things that really troubled me is that our people over there worked really, really hard. We did everything that we knew to do. We embraced the lean methods of manufacturing and cost cutting and really did a bang up job over there. So it was a surprise that we decided to move our operations to Mexico. So really looked into that, tried to figure out how can we compete. And what I found through Society of Mechanical Engineering article a few years ago is that that whole NAFTA system that was voted in is actually a giant loophole, and it becomes a duty-free zone to where our companies can move product and move jobs down there and avoid paying taxes.
Travis, I'm sorry, we got to get to a question. We got some more calls to take, but do you have a question about NAFTA?
Well, yeah, and I would hope that that issue would be brought up in your campaign, and if you're elected to represent us to because we can't compete on we can compete on wages, and we can compete on transportation, but we can't compete when our own federal government is undermining our efforts to compete in this economy.
Great, Travis, I appreciate that. Let's bring it up in your campaign right now.
Two engineers must think exactly alike, because he stated it perfectly. The federal government is undermining its own people, the people that pay taxes. It's undermining our own businesses because it's saying, okay, go and you can do this without the loophole's got to stop. We've got to be on a fair playing field. The United States of America, the greatest land ever in the history of the world, can compete on any basis, anytime, anywhere, and let the federal government get out of our lives so that we can fairly compete and not give a foreign country or some business a loophole so that they can do business cheaper somewhere else.
Now, are you talk about even playing field? Some people hear that and they're like, well, maybe more protectionist a policy, so maybe some tariffs to penalize the Mexican goods coming in or something. What do you what's your way of making it even
as an American, if they want to protect us, fine, that's great, but we don't need it. We've got the American spirit. We can beat anyone, anytime, any place. I mean, we are Americans.
So you're talking free, laissez-faire, complete free trade.
I want to get the government out of our controlling our lives and controlling our ability to compete. give us a fair playing field, an even playing field to compete on. We can beat them.
There's very little free trade about NAFTA. It's a 2,000-page document.
That's right. It sounds like healthcare reform.
Exactly.
And Nancy Pelosi says, "Oh, don't worry about what's in it. Just pass it, and then we'll see what's."